This is something we need to talk about. Recently, Realtor.com published an article stating that nationwide, new listings were up this week by 10% from 1 year ago today. They said, quote, "Since February, the number of homes newly listed for sale has surpassed the year-ago pace by double digits, with the exception of a few weeks around this year's spring holidays." As reported in Realtor.com April housing report, newly listed homes trailed behind every year prior, except for the pandemic-induced starting point of 2020 and the record low of 2023. They went on to say that for the 25th week straight, there were more homes listed for sale versus the prior week, giving homebuyers more options. As mortgage rates have climbed to new 2024 highs, we could see sellers adjust their plans, since nearly 3/4 of potential sellers also plan to buy a home. That sounds like good news, right? So what does all of this mean? Hi, I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group. I am a local real estate agent right here in the Northeast Metro Atlanta area, specializing in helping clients relocate from all over the country to make North Georgia their home. We have had quite a wild year so far despite high interest rates. But what else do you need to know about the market currently if you are planning on making a move? For starters, yes, it is good news that there are more homes on the market this year than there were last year. But I hate to break it to you, it's still not enough to meet all of the needs for the buyers that are currently in the market. As the article mentioned, we have not had enough inventory to support all of the people actively looking to buy a home in years. People are hesitant to sell their home right now because they know they're going to have to figure out a place to move. So they become buyers in this competitive and expensive market. The great homes that have been well cared for, marketed well, and are in popular areas are still going quickly, and oftentimes than not going into multiple offer situations. There are homes, however, that are sitting on the market longer than expected for a variety of reasons, none of which are new. They are either overpriced, haven't been well taken care of, or are in areas that buyers aren't flocking to. This is definitely something to keep in mind when you buy a home if you plan on selling it in the next 5 to 10 years. Is this an area that is going to continue to appreciate? Because is it in a well-maintained community, a good school zone, and an area that people are going to continue to buy homes in? It's a great question to ask yourself. This is something you are going to want to heavily consider when you are thinking about buying a home. There are some great smaller towns that will have more affordable options for you that you are going to see this positive appreciation. So you can find a home in an up-and-coming area instead of the latest hotspot and still see a return on your investment. But you're going to want to make sure that this is an affordable area because it's on its way up, not on its way down. As a local, I can help you decipher where these towns and areas are if you are coming from out of state. I recently made a video of the top towns here in Georgia that all of my personal clients are choosing to relocate to, and they meet all of that criteria. So definitely go check out that video if you are still trying to figure out where you want to live here in Georgia. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now so that you can stay up to date on all the videos that come your way. So what does the local real estate market look like here in the Northeast Metro Atlanta currently? Well, the average sales price in the greater Atlanta area in the month of April was $533,000. There were a total of just over 8,000 new listings in April, which was a 31% increase from this time last year, which is great news to see so many homes hitting the market, especially if you compare this to the number of homes that were listed back in December of 2023. That was only 3,800 homes. This increase of nearly 5,000 new homes is obviously great news for buyers, but these listings are spread out all over the greater Atlanta area. So it doesn't feel like you have a plethora of new options in the areas you are actively searching in. Like I mentioned earlier, the average sales price is $533,000. And you factor that with interest rates are hovering around 7% right now, buying a house is expensive. If you take a look at this chart, you can see that the average sales price of $533,000 with a 7% interest rate, you're looking at a monthly payment of around $3,500. Now, if you would have bought when interest rates were back at 5.5%, your monthly payment would be more than $500 a month cheaper. So you're nearly paying $6,000 more a year because of the higher interest rate. Now, the good news is Fannie Mae, NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, and the Mortgage Bankers Association are all predicting that interest rates will come down in quarter 3 or quarter 4 of this year. However, predictions that were made last year that they would be lowered in the first and second quarter of this year hasn't turned out to be the case. So if their predictions are correct, maybe the second time's better than the first, more buyers are going to enter the market since the current 7% interest rate has pushed a lot of people to the sidelines and maybe made them not able to buy a home at all. If all of these buyers come into the market when interest rates get a little bit lower and they're now trying to compete for the same small amount of inventory we have, prices are going to be pushed up, and it's going to be just as unaffordable to buy a home as it would have been with high interest rates, as the price of the home will increase, and it's just going to negate out, the gain that you make from the lower interest rate. Couple that with the fact that you're going to have bidding wars, and if you're having to waive appraisal contingencies and having to come up with the cash to pay the difference for that house if it appraises for less than what you offered, well, it kind of becomes way more expensive. Obviously, no one wants to pay more money for a home than what they have to, and I'm not suggesting that you go out and overpay for a house. One of the biggest goals of buying a home, aside from having a roof over your head, is to be able to sell it one day and make a profit. And if you overpay for a house, you may end up losing money when you go to sell. Now, this is obviously not an ideal situation and definitely something that you want to consider when you are shopping for a home. If you're looking to relocate and retire in an area and plan on staying put in your new home here indefinitely, or you want to move to a new area and put your kids in good schools and plan to stay for the entire time they're in school, or let's say that you're a first-time home buyer and you don't want to pay rent any longer, these are scenarios where it still kind of makes sense to buy a house. Now, of course, I have clients who last year said they're going to wait until the market gets better this year. In fact, I've had clients saying that every year, year over year. And if I look back at the past 5-year history of the metro Atlanta area, home prices have risen every single year despite interest rates. So in each of those scenarios where I had clients that wanted to wait, for whatever reason, financially, if they could have made it work during the year that we originally talked, they would have saved money. So you have to kind of take all of that into, consideration when you are considering purchasing a house. If you are coming to the area and only plan on being here for a year or two max, you definitely don't want to find yourself in a bidding war, and it might make more sense to rent. So here at a local level, I would say things are a bit calmer this month. I had a buyer make a list price offer on a beautiful newer home in Beaufort City school limits, which, if you know, you know. This is a highly sought after area, and they were able to successfully secure the home. No need to go over list price. Now, the last few weeks have been interesting. I wouldn't say that things have slowed down necessarily, but it seems like buyers are pulling back some. I have a great listing on the market currently in Beaufort City schools, and the showings have been steady but not overwhelming, despite that this is a great house in one of the highest rated school zones in the state. And it's priced appropriately. We listed on a Friday, had lots of good activity over the weekend, but minimal showings outside of the open house. It's a Monday now, and I have received 4 requests for the home to be shown today. It's almost like people waited through the weekend to see if it was going to sell or they were going to have to get into a bidding war. Another factor of this to consider could be that things are slower because these houses are not located in Alpharetta or Cumming, even though Beaufort is a fantastic town and it's such a rare opportunity to find a home that is districted for Beaufort City schools. I would guess that if you picked them up and put them in Alpharetta, they would have had multiple offers by now. Another factor that could also explain this is that both of these homes were listed at an appropriate price, meaning that they weren't purposely listed well under list price to drive up interest and force people to offer well over list price. Things are a bit all over the place currently with great homes moving fast, but I think some buyers are having a hard time stomaching interest rates. If they are local and need to sell their home here in order to purchase, it is a lot less appealing of a time to do so. If you are an out-of-state buyer and the market that you're currently in is located and you're also in a fast-paced environment, perhaps even faster than some of the areas here, this certainly gives you a leg up if, it's going to make it easier for you to sell your current home. I've talked with a few agents recently to get a feel for their tolerance in accepting a contract with a home to sell contingency, meaning the buyer needs to sell their current home in order to purchase this one. And some sellers have had so much interest that it just doesn't make sense to consider such a high-risk offer. Others, though, have been a little bit slower activity and they're willing to make it work in order to get a home sold. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you are faced with having a higher interest rate coupled with the fact of the home price and that seems a little bit scary, we need to talk and have a strategy session. There are some great ways where we can do permanent rate buy downs and get some of those negotiated in some areas and some price points to help make home buying a little bit more affordable right now. So what do you think? Are you considering relocating to Georgia despite the low inventory and higher interest rates? Is living in Georgia more affordable than where you currently are? If you are thinking about making a move, I would love to be your real estate agent. You can contact me in the link below in the pinned comment underneath this video. I would love to help you navigate this market and find the perfect home that fits your needs. If you're still researching and learning more about relocating here to the North Metro Atlanta area, you need to check out this video next.